My girlfriend said, "I cheated, but only because you're emotionally distant." I said, "Got it." Then I uploaded the proof she forgot to delete from my iCloud. 24 hours later, her dream job offer was revoked. I, 28 male, I'm a software engineer. I work in data. I like patterns, logic, things that make sense. My life is structured. I'm not a robot, but I process things quietly. My girlfriend of 3 years, Kimberly, 27, used to say she loved that about me. She called it my calm center. Last night, she sat me down on our sofa, the one we spent a month picking out. She wouldn't look at me. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice doing that little shaky thing it does when she's trying to win an argument. "I slept with someone." The air went out of the room. I didn't say anything. I just watched her, waited for the rest of the data. She finally looked at me, and her eyes were full of tears. But it wasn't sadness. It was justification. It was a mistake, a huge one. "But Andrew, you've been so distant, so closed off. It's like I'm living with a ghost. I needed to feel something. I cheated, but only because you're emotionally distant." I swear, in that moment, it was like a switch flipped in my brain. The hurt was there, a dull, heavy ache behind my ribs. But on top of it was this cold, crystal-clear clarity. All the little inconsistencies, the late nights with the girls, the sudden obsession with a new colleague at her marketing firm, it all just clicked into place. She was waiting for me to yell, to cry, to break things. She wanted a scene. A fight would have made it about us, about our problems. It would have validated her excuse. I just nodded. I stood up. "Got it," I said. The confusion on her face was almost comical. "Got it? That's all you're gonna say?" "I've got the data I need," I said. "The hypothesis has been proven." I went into our bedroom and packed a duffel bag. My work laptop, a few changes of clothes, my toiletries. 10 minutes max. She followed me, her voice getting louder. "Andrew, this is what I'm talking about. You're shutting down. You're supposed to fight for me, for us." I paused at the door and looked at her. "There is no us. There's you and what you did. And there's me, leaving." I spent the night on my friend Paul's couch. Didn't sleep. Just stared at the ceiling, replaying her words. "Because you're emotionally distant." The audacity. The sheer unmitigated gall to take her betrayal and lay it at my feet like a gift. Around 3 a.m., I couldn't stand it anymore. I opened my laptop, intending to sort through some shared bills and start the process of untangling our lives. Our phone plans, streaming services, and our shared iCloud account. I had set it up ages ago for the extra storage, mainly for photo backups. It was one of those background things, humming along invisibly. Kimberly is savvy with social media for her job, but not so much with the nuts and bolts of data management. She probably forgot it was even still syncing. I clicked on the Photos app, and there it was, a folder she'd created, titled Fun, not even hidden. Inside were about 30 photos and a few short videos. Her and him, Steven, the colleague she swore was just a work friend, practically a brother. Photos of them at a bar, laughing. A picture of his arm around her in a park, and the timestamp on all of them was from 2 weeks ago, the night she was supposedly at a team-building yoga retreat. The kicker, though, a 15-second video. It's them, clinking wine glasses in what looks like a nice hotel room. She's beaming, holding up a piece of paper. "To new beginnings," Steven says, his voice slurring slightly. Kimberly giggles and says, "And to jobs that are finally worth it." She kisses the paper. It was her offer letter, the one she'd received last week. Her dream job. Head of community outreach for a massive, family-friendly tech corporation. The kind of company that trades on its public image of wholesome values and integrity. She'd been through 5 rounds of interviews. Talked endlessly about their corporate ethics, their charity work, how this job would finally let her make a real difference. She celebrated her new life on the ashes of our old one, documented it, and then blamed me for the fire. I downloaded every single file to a secure encrypted folder on my hard drive. I titled my folder Consequences. Then I logged out. I sat there in the dark, the screen of my laptop illuminating my face. She thinks I'm emotionally distant. She's about to see what focused, methodical action looks like. Update 1. Things have progressed, just as I anticipated. Thank you for the validating comments. It's good to know I'm not crazy. I've ignored the flood of texts and calls from Kimberly. Paul has been a lifesaver. The first 24 hours were about precision. Rushing this would be a mistake. I reviewed the company's website again, screenshotting their corporate responsibility and employee conduct page. It was a goldmine of phrases like unimpeachable integrity, personal and professional ethics, and ambassadors of our brand in and out of the workplace. I drafted the email from an anonymous account. It was cold, factual, and professional. Subject: for your discretion, information regarding new hire Kimberly Ellison and employee Stephen Croft. To head of HR's email. Head of communications email. Dear Miss Comms Head's name, I am writing to provide information that may be relevant to the recent hiring of Miss Kimberly Ellison and the conduct of a current employee, Mr. Stephen Croft of the marketing department. This information appears to show behavior that is in direct conflict with your company's publicly stated values. The attached files were discovered in a shared digital space. Of particular note is the video dated date, which appears to show Miss Ellison celebrating her job offer in a hotel room with Mr. Croft. The files are from a folder she personally titled Fun. I trust you will handle this with the appropriate internal discretion. Sincerely, a concerned observer. I attached the 5T files. The send button felt heavy. This was the point of no return. I thought about her crying on the couch, but then I remembered the reason she was crying. Not remorse, but a strategic bid for my sympathy. My phone buzzed. A text from her friend Donna. Andrew, Kimberly is a mess. You need to be a man and talk to her. Don't be a coward. You know you pushed her away. This is on you too. That was all the confirmation I needed. The blame shifting was a coordinated effort. I hit send. This time, the result wasn't a sudden firing. It was something more corporate, more chilling. About 8 hours later, Kimberly called me, her voice tight with panic. I let it go to voicemail. The message was frantic. Andrew, what is going on? I just got a call from HR. They're postponing my start date pending an internal review. They were asking about Stephen. What did you do? They know his name. Call me. Another voicemail an hour later. This time she was weeping. Stephen was just told to work from home for the rest of the week. They're investigating him for unprofessional conduct. He's furious with me. He thinks I slipped up. This is because of you. You are ruining everything. The corporate machine is moving. It's not a swift axe, it's a slow, methodical grinder. They haven't fired her. They've put her in limbo. A place of pure uncertainty where all her dreams are suspended just out of reach. This is far worse for her than a quick termination. It gives her a sliver of hope, and I know she and her family will do anything to turn that sliver into a reality. They are about to show their true colors. Update 2. It has been one of the longest weeks of my life. The state of limbo I left Kimberly in was, as predicted, a catalyst for a full-scale pressure campaign. First came the smear tactics. A private Instagram account popped up. The username was something generic like The Real Story 8. It started following the people in my life that Kimberly knew personally. Paul, my sister, and a handful of my work colleagues she'd met at holiday parties. The posts were insidious. She took real memories and twisted them. A photo she took of me working late on a project was captioned, "He called this dedication. I called it neglect. Emotional abuse." A quiet anniversary dinner we had was reframed as me being controlling because I chose the restaurant. It was a pathetic, transparent attempt to paint me as the villain. Next, her father made his move. The email I received was exactly what I'd expect from him. It was a strategic attempt to neutralize the problem, me, before the company's investigation concluded. Andrew, it began, Kimberly is beside herself. She made a mistake, and the consequences have been disproportionate. I believe this has all been a terrible misunderstanding, fueled by your own hurt feelings. To help put this unfortunate chapter behind us all, and to compensate you for your distress, I am prepared to offer you a sum of $5,000. In return, you will contact her employer, state that the information you provided was a misunderstanding sent in anger, and you will not contact them again. He wasn't just buying my silence, he was trying to buy my complicity in her lie. He wanted me to actively help cover it up. I saved the email as a PDF and filed it in my consequences folder. I never replied. The climax arrived 2 nights ago. I had to get the last of my belongings from the apartment. Paul came with me. We'd timed it for when she should have been out. She wasn't. She was waiting for us with her mother in tow. An ambush. Andrew, her mother Dorothy said, her voice like ice. This has gone far enough. I continued placing my books in a box. Hello, Dorothy. Don't you dare, she snapped. You have intentionally and with malice interfered with my daughter's career. We have spoken to our lawyer. You have opened yourself up to a lawsuit for tortious interference and online harassment. I finally stopped and turned to face them. I looked from Dorothy to Kimberly, who was standing there silently, letting her mother fight her battle. Let's break that down, I said, my voice level. Tortious interference would require me to have acted with malice to disrupt a contract. I simply provided truthful information to an employer about a new hire's conduct, information which directly contradicts their own code of ethics. They made a business decision. That's not a tort. That's due diligence. I then gestured vaguely towards my phone. And online harassment? That's a bold accusation coming from a family who is currently operating an anonymous Instagram account to slander me to my friends and colleagues. You're accusing me of the very thing you're actively doing. How do you think that would look in a deposition? Dorothy's face went from pale to blotchy red. She was utterly unprepared for me to calmly call her bluff. Kimberly found her voice. My life is over, she shrieked. That job was everything. Stephen's father is on the board, his whole family knows. They're calling me a homewrecker. You didn't just ruin my career, you ruined my entire reputation. Because you couldn't get over one little mistake. It wasn't one mistake, Kimberly, I said, picking up the box. It was a series of choices. You chose to cheat. You chose to lie. You chose to celebrate it with him. You chose to blame me. Now, the company has made their choice. Just as I said that, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my friend of a friend at the company. My heart hammered. The text read, "It's official. Internal memo just went out. Stephen Croft has been terminated for gross misconduct. HR confirmed this morning the offer to Kay Ellison was formally and permanently revoked. The review is over." I looked up at Kimberly, her face still contorted with rage. She didn't know yet. She was still fighting a battle that had been lost. I walked past them without another word. As the apartment door clicked shut behind me, I heard a vase shatter against it. She was still trying to create a scene, completely unaware that the show was already over. Final update. It's been 3 months. I'm in a new apartment, a smaller place just for me. It's quiet. I'm finally ready to close this chapter, and this will be my last post on the subject. The anonymous Instagram account vanished the day after the firings became official. A last, desperate gasp that died without the oxygen of my reaction. The legal threats from her parents evaporated into nothing, just expensive, empty words. I heard through the grapevine what happened to Kimberly. She had to move back in with her parents. The combination of being let go from a dream job before she even started, and being tied to a messy scandal involving the son of a board member, made her radioactive. Her industry is smaller than you'd think. Word travels. She's apparently working part-time at a high-end clothing store in her hometown mall. About a month ago, I got one last communication from her. A long, rambling email sent from a new address. I almost deleted it, but I needed to see the final data point. It was exactly what I expected. It was not an apology. It was an epic tragedy, starring herself. She wrote about her shattered dreams, the humiliation, the financial hardship. She detailed how Stephen had blocked her on everything, how his family had painted her as a manipulative predator to save their own son's reputation. The entire email was a monument to her unshakable victimhood. It ended with one final, unbelievable line that I had to read 3 times to fully process. I hope one day you'll look back on all the damage you caused and find it in your heart to forgive yourself. She will believe that forever. She has constructed a reality where she is the sole injured party, and I am the architect of her downfall. She will never acknowledge that her own choices, her lies, her betrayal, and her profound entitlement were the bricks and mortar of her own ruin. The alternative is simply not something her personality can process. And in that final, diluted sentence, I found my closure. My actions were never about revenge, not in the hot-blooded way she imagines. It was about rejecting the narrative she tried to force on me. The story where I was the cold, distant boyfriend who made her cheat. The story where her consequences were my fault. I refused to play the part. I simply collected the facts she provided and presented them to an audience that had a right to see them. I held up a mirror, and it wasn't my fault. She shattered it. I'm doing okay. The first month was a fog. Paul was a rock. He got me out of my apartment, onto hiking trails, into a weekly basketball game. The noise in my head began to fade, replaced by the sound of birds and bouncing basketballs. I'm focusing on my work, which has always been a refuge. I'm enjoying the silence of my own space. It's not lonely, it's peace. I don't know when I'll be ready to trust someone with my heart again, but I trust myself. I know my own worth. And I know that my calm center isn't emotional distance, it's strength, and I'm no longer willing to let anyone else define it for me.